Welcome to the Ivors Academy Music Creator Wellbeing webinar for Mental Health Awareness Week. We wanted to take this opportunity to go behind the scenes, both at the Ivors Academy, and to introduce you to a number of people working to support music creators during lockdown and throughout the year. So on the panel today, there's three of us who are representatives of the Ivors Academy. My name's Nici Butchart and I'm the membership manager at the Ivors Academy, and I'm also joined by my colleague Tarcic, who's in the membership team. And we also have composer Matt Andasun, who sits on our Ivors Media Committee. In addition to that, we have lots of special guests. So we have Liam Hennessy from Help Musicians UK. We have Athena Pite from PRS Members Fund. We've got Callie Bradford, who co-founded the MyHappySong campaign. We've got Nici Butchart, who is from the Gazelle's Wellbeing app. We've got Natasha Pullin, who's from the BBC and the Composer Wellbeing Collective, and Jane Booth, who's an executive coach at Guildhall School of Music and Drama. So just a little sort of housekeeping. Tarcic will run the Q&A part of the discussion. So please use the Q&A function on the webinar and send questions throughout, and we'll answer as many as we can at the end. Tarcic will also be sending some links when everyone's speaking so you can look up some of the information and get involved later. Okay, so it's a very poignant time to increase sort of mental health awareness. There's been a lot of change, loss and isolation across the world during lockdown. But the situation has also highlighted the importance of community and has created a unique opportunity for us all to come together virtually. So the aim of this discussion is to highlight some of the positive work being done in the music community, to signpost to opportunities, and just look at ways that music creators can engage. We'll also mention a few experiences and things that have inspired us over the past few weeks. Okay, so the first thing, I suppose, from the Ivors Academy point of view, Tarcic and I are the membership team, so we answer and connect with members through email and on the phone. So it's great to sort of be able to, I suppose, let you know what we look like, and so you feel comfortable getting in touch with us if you're members or want to know more. We've recently started a music creator community on Facebook, which you can join whether you're a member or not, which I think is a really nice way to engage digitally and get to know the community of creators. So Tarcic will post links to that. So first of all, I'm just going to go around and introduce you to all these sort of great speakers we've got, and so you can find out a bit about them. So Liam, are you with us, Liam?
Yes, hi Nici, thanks for having me.
No problem. So I thank you for joining us. I know you must be very, very busy. I help musicians both with the COVID-19 response, but also having such an important role for mental health. Yeah, I think you're are you on another panel this evening as well with the MMA?
It's not me, but there are a number of panels that the team are involved with at the moment. Yeah. Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, for those that don't know, maybe some people only know about Help Musicians, COVID-19 relief, but it would be great to sort of get an overview about what else Help Musicians do and about the Music Minds Matter services.
Yeah, absolutely. So Help Musicians is actually nearly 100 years old now. So next year we'll be celebrating our centenary, and we offer support and empowerment to musicians throughout all stages of their career. And really we're here to provide a lifetime of support when it's needed most. So that could be towards your health, your welfare. It could be helping with funding for creative opportunities through our Do It Differently fund. But particularly with the focus this week with Mental Health Awareness Week, I thought it would be good to kind of touch on a little bit of our support we offer in that field. So as you mentioned just there, we also run a service called Music Minds Matter, and that is a telephone support line which is available at any time of day or night. And there are a number of options of support through that number. So the kind of first tier, if you like, is a listening ear. So really it's just an opportunity for people to call up when they're having a difficult day and just discuss how they're feeling and just get a few things kind of off their chest. It's always useful to do that. And that's the kind of first tier of support. But there is also another element to Music Minds Matter, which I think is really imperative. And that is, we also offer support towards funding counselling. And so that could be either online counselling, so through CBT, it could be telephone counselling. And obviously pre-lockdown, we also offered face-to-face counselling as well. And all of that was completely free of charge for the user. So all you had to do was kind of call the number, and the advisor would take you through a series of questions. And if counselling was the kind of correct option for you, then that would be offered. So it's a really unique service. Another thing to kind of mention on that is, with kind of NHS waiting times can be, depending on whereabouts you are in the country, but they can be fairly extended. So this also offers quicker access to counselling support when it's needed the most. So yeah, it's a really invaluable service, and particularly in a week like this, it's a great opportunity to kind of talk a bit more about it. So, yeah.
So how can creators get involved? Could they just find out this on the website? I know Tarcic's posting some links, etc. But right. Is there anything in particular that you're keen for creators to get involved in? Any campaigns or social media shout outs, etc.?
Yeah. Well, so we've just kind of closed off our first phase of hardship support towards the coronavirus situation. So the phase one of that has closed, whereby we offered nearly 17,000 musicians and creators £500 to see them through the initial impacts of coronavirus. We're currently working on phase two. We're very aware that the situation is obviously still ongoing, and it could be for some time. So we're looking now at how do we support musicians in the more medium to longer term, and that will be the phase two of our hardship support. So we're working on that at the moment. So for that one, I'd say keep an eye on the Help Musicians social media channels. There's also a link which I imagine will be sent around. We've worked with a number of partner organisations, Ivors included in that, the MU, PRS, Music Managers Forum, to create a dedicated webpage where we're kind of pooling all the resources on coronavirus on that website. So that's a really useful place to find resources and signposting. The actual number for Music Minds Matter, if people wanted to kind of make a quick note of that, is 0808 802 8008. But it's also on our website, and we've got a dedicated Music Minds Matter webpage as well. So there's loads of information online. We do also have, so I'm in the health and welfare team, and we're still operating as normal, although remotely. So people can still call us and get access to things such as counselling, or it could be physiotherapy, once we're allowed to kind of resume those sorts of interventions. So yeah, there's a huge amount of support out there. The website is a really good place to find more information as well.
Thanks, Liam. That sounds great. So one thing that we really want to do is keep things positive as well, because we know obviously it's been a very difficult time for many people, and mental health and looking after your well-being is nothing new, and it might be heightened at this point. But I thought, because the Mental Health Awareness Week slogan, I suppose, theme this year is kindness, it would be great to sort of go around the team and share maybe a moment of kindness that you've experienced or something inspiring from the last few weeks, or even just a track that you've really got into, even if it's older, because you've been in your kitchen more and had more reason to get to listen to music. So I suppose, from my point of view, I've really loved living in central London. When the Clap for Carers happens, there's just an eruption, like a football stadium, across the city, which I think is a really nice way for the society to come together. And as we've said, having a community like the Ivors Academy and all the other networks, it's a really nice and important time to highlight the importance of that. So Liam, is there anything you want to sort of share on that front?
Yeah, fantastic question. And we've been really, really inspired by some of the kindness that's been showed in the music industry and in the general public around our first phase of hardship support. So we raised nearly £3.5 million towards that, and that was from really kind donations from organisations such as the Arts Council, Amazon Music, Spotify, a number of key music industry organisations. PPL have also donated to our next phase, and as well as that, there's lots of amazingly kind donations from the general public as well. So yeah, I've been really inspired by all of that. It's been an amazing to see people come together despite the difficult times we're in.
That's great. Thanks, Liam. So if you've got any questions for Liam, please put them in the Q&A feature, and we'll come back to answer those later on. So I'd love to move on to Athena next. So Athena, you're sort of linked into Music Minds Matter as well as working for the Members Fund. So I'd love just to get an overview about what you do and the Members Fund, because not only are you sort of helping people through coronavirus support, but you also provide well-being and support throughout the whole year. So it'd be great to get an overview. You're on mute though.
Apologies for that. Tech savvy not. Thanks very much for the invitation to join this conversation about mental and emotional well-being, which is so important throughout the whole of the year, not just now. Many people might not realise that the PRS Members Fund was first established in 1934 by PRS for Music to support songwriters and composers that were suffering from the Great Depression. And I think there are a few analogies to what's happening now throughout the lockdown. Although the remit has been to do mainly with the relief of poverty, we've considerably expanded our services and support, both directly through the grants that we offer, as well as through our various partners. We actually partner with Help Musicians UK on Music Minds Matter, and any of our PRS members that approach that helpline for support, and after the assessment that Liam described, if it's been agreed as mutually beneficial for them to access either online telephone counselling or cognitive behavioural therapy, they can actually approach the fund for support. I should say that there is eligibility criteria. They have to be a member of PRS for Music for at least 7 years or have earned £500 in royalties and experiencing some form of life crisis, which happens to most of us at some point, either illness, relationship breakdown, loss of employment opportunity, or conditions associated with growing older. So if somebody is in that position where they feel that they're in debt and they're really struggling with their situation, they can approach us for support. And I think one of the great strengths of the fund is that we look at each situation on its own merits, individually, and work in a holistic way. We provide a home visiting service, we have a winter heating scheme, and we provide both regular or crisis impact support grants. So I think there's obviously a lot of similarities between the work that we do and other benevolent funds. And it's so crucial now that those organisations like ourselves are there to support the songwriting and composing community where they've been tremendously affected I think it's well known that songwriters already experience a lot of isolation. They tend to work alone and have a high rate of mental health problems. So actually having all of these organisations come together to provide support, I think, has been very inspiring and uplifting to see what's been going on. And I imagine that most of you know that we had the Emergency Relief Fund that was together with PRS The Music, the Members Fund and the PRS Foundation. Phase 1 was launched in March, and we paid out about £1.4 million to 4,000 members. Phase 2, which opened earlier this month but actually closed on Friday, we had over 2,000 eligible applications, and funding for that will actually be paid out, I think, week commencing the 25th of May. Just perhaps to say a little bit more about our partnerships with different organisations. Through the British Association of Performing Arts Medicine, our members can actually access clinical assessments for either physical or mental health needs. We operate a partnership with Step Change, where people can access debt management advice and support. Within the fund team, we also provide benefits advice as well. I think we pride ourselves on giving tailored support to each individual circumstances to enable them to get into a position where they feel more empowered going forward. We run, let me just think, Cyrilwood Court is a housing scheme in Dorset where we have nomination rights for anyone age around 55 plus who's got a background in the creative industries can approach us for a place if they're looking to move. And I had an email this morning to say that they've got a two bedrooms flat available. So if anyone out there in the community is thinking about a move to Dorset or would like just to be somewhere different, then just email us. We also offer the opportunity for a creative retreat through the Francis Reckitt's Art Trust. So there's, I think last year, I think there were about 8 songwriters, composers that took that opportunity. So again, I think check out our website. There's a whole range of different things that we can support people with, and we tailor it around individual needs within the framework of our criteria. So I think probably just really to say that in summary, the work that the fund does is not only to take off the practical pressures of paying bills, but can also directly fund therapeutic support in some circumstances. And because there is that well-known relationship between poverty and mental health, we feel that we're doing an enormous amount to help the songwriting community, together with all of the other organisations out there.
Thank you, Athena. That sounds great. So I think Tarcic's posting an article as well that you did, so people can have a little read and find out more and visit the website. So before we move on to our next guest, have you had experienced a particular moment of kindness, or have you seen anything very inspiring during the last few weeks?
The road that I live in started a WhatsApp group. I hardly knew anyone except on either side of me. And one of my neighbours has actually been making hundreds and hundreds of cupcakes for the North Middlesex Hospital, but not just any ordinary cupcake. They've been beautifully iced, each and every one beautifully iced, and she's asked for ingredients from the whole street. And my road is actually nearly a mile long, and nearly everybody raided their kitchen cupboards to find flour and eggs, and it's become almost, I wouldn't say a weekly event, but nearly every couple of weeks, this amazing neighbour makes these cupcakes and goes and delivers them to a car park where one of the nurses or doctors will come out and grab the crates. And I just think that's absolutely amazing community get together.
That sounds great. I mean, from the Ivors Academy point of view, you know, we've managed to set up our sort of online Facebook group, and our webinars are an opportunity for us to reach members across the whole country. So we're not so focused on having to physically be places. So it's great that, you know, a difficult situation has also led to, you know, you making some new friends and new neighbours.
Definitely.
That's great.
Definitely. Thank you, Nici.
No problem. So let's move on to Callie. I'd love to hear a bit more about the campaign that you've started for musicians.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be able to talk about this. So I, along with George Godfrey from Radio X / Alt Disco and Jordy Meanwell from Life Mental Health, we started this campaign called #MyHappySong. And basically we were sitting around talking how, in this time it's really tough and there's lots of isolation, and the only thing that's kind of getting us through is music. So we figured, that happens for musicians as well. The thing that they love most is performing and writing and doing all of that stuff. So we started my Happy Song to kind of get the musicians community involved and kind of give them a distraction in order to do something. So basically it's just that it started off, it's kind of mutated in different ways, but it started off that we asked a few musicians if they would do a cover of their happy song and then kind of talk about why it was their happy song and what it made them feel and how they were kind of keeping mentally healthy during this time. From there, it kind of mutated to get involving not just musicians, but the general public. So it basically is on Instagram, but we've started to move to Twitter and other platforms. But we have a thing where anyone can just say what their happy song is and post it on their story or post it on their actual page and just hashtag #MyHappySong. We've had now I think it's over 200 people getting involved, and musicians like When Young, Broken Hands, Wild Front, huge amount of people, and we're really, really excited. It's also moved to George's show on Radio X every night. So I think he's on 7 to 10 every night. And so now people are calling in and explaining what their happy song is and how they're getting through everything and why it's their happy song. And so we're starting to get more kind of involved with Radio X. And life started in 2019. Life Mental Health. It's Jordy's baby. His best friend passed away or took his own life in 2015, and he set out to kind of take away the stigma of mental health. So he started Life, and he wanted to do that through the arts and through sports and all of that. So we started talking. We were supposed to do this big this big gig in May, but actually this weekend we were supposed to do it, but obviously not happening now. So we've been talking, and so he started all of that, and we wanted to kind of push out sorry, my cat just went crazy. He wanted to push that out in a different way, not the face-to-face thing anymore. So that's kind of how My Happy Song came about.
That sounds really interesting. Like, I know in Scotland a similar thing has been happening where a lot of local musicians put a song of their own in a hat, and they mix them all up and distribute them to different musicians and songwriters across Scotland, and then that songwriter they all do a cover of other local songwriters' music, and also it helps to promote the community and music as a whole as well. So I suppose that it doesn't have to be some really big famous song. You could help support the current creator community by making a new song, a happy song too, I suppose.
Absolutely. I love what the Scottish music industry does. It's definitely one to keep an eye on, and just I've worked with a bunch of Scottish artists, and it's incredible up there. And anyone can get involved. That's what I wanted to say also, is so all you have to do is do your cover. It could be your own song, be the cover of your own song, and just hashtag #MyHappySong. If possible, also, this is all coming in the little paper that will be sent to you guys, but you could tag Life Mental Health, Lovers Music, and Alt Disco, just so we can keep following and repost. And then also we'd love for you to tag other people and kind of push it out to them. So the more happy songs we have going, the better for everyone.
So have you got a particular moment or happy song or kindness, act of kindness that you'd like to share as well?
Yeah. My grandma has been, for I think it's like 10 years, has been volunteering in this hospital. And obviously she's 85 years old, so she can't do it right now. Volunteers aren't allowed to be there, but she so wanted to be helpful to the patients and everything there. So she started crocheting masks for all of them that they can put filters in, and so that they can, when they get out of the the hospital, they'll still be able to be safe. And all of them have cute little noses on them or something really special, little hearts, crocheted hearts. It's very cute. So my grandma just wants to, I think she's done over like 100 of them now. So she really, really wants to help in any way she can. And not being able to be at the hospital is tough. So this is her way.
That sounds lovely. My dad particularly wants a mask with a moustache on it. I don't know if he can't grow a moustache himself, but I'll signpost him to your gran. Let's do that. Thanks, Callie. So next we've got Jane from the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. So Jane is running a lockdown lounge, and I went along to one last week with Nigel from the Ivors Academy team. Went along virtually on Zoom. But I'd love it, Jane, if you would let us know a bit about that and also the other coaching courses, etc. you've got going at Guildhall.
Great, thanks very much for including us in this, Nici. So a few years ago, we wanted to be more effective mentors to the students, and we brought a wonderful woman in to give us some training. And what we discovered was that this training was having a huge impact on us as individuals, as managers, as leaders, as teachers. And this was a movement that just really grew across the school. And it's grown into our own training program where we're training people to be coaches within their roles as teachers or as managers or as team members or as executives. And we fully accredited by the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. And it's a really exciting activity that is not just internally focused now within the school, but we work with the Barbican Centre, we work with housing association schools and other arts organisations. So that's something that's kind of grown from a tiny seed into a wonderful community itself. We have 16 executive coaches in our team, and we really wanted to do something in this period to support freelance artists, because it quickly became apparent that it was unclear how much support could be given to freelancers. And I know one of the people I've spoken to has said they've had 18 months worth of work cancelled. Anyway, we wanted to do something positive, and we have opened up the Lockdown Lounge, which is a meeting once a fortnight. It's going to happen this Wednesday at 4 o'clock from 4 to 5:30, and we'll have a group of coaches there, and we'll talk about something. We're looking at positivity, so we'll be looking at things that we can do, and we'll be digging deep to find out what resources we do have within our toolbox that we can shine a light on right now, how we can use the time that the world has presented us with in order to learn more about ourselves, to understand more about the world, and to think about how we're going to move forwards beyond the lockdown. And it's astonishing how many great new creative projects can come out of difficulty, and that's what we want to do. We really want to support people to be able to make the best of the time that's here. And from the last session, people said to us they really appreciated being a part of a community. They appreciated the chance to talk. Liam was talking about the importance of listening and being heard, and we're offering a space for that. And yeah, it's there. We've got space for people on the session this week, and we really hope people will come and join us.
Thanks, Jane. So Taric's posted in the chat the email address, so it's coachingandmentoring@gsmd.ac.uk, and we'll also send this out post-webinar as well. I'd highly recommend it because I went on it last week, and I think it is very, it's really nice to get out of your sort of isolated bubble and speak to people that particularly don't work in, sort of your mainstream industries and might be forgotten or fall between the cracks, I suppose, with the rest of the government support, etc. So thanks so much, Jane. Do you have an inspiring or an act of kindness you'd like to share with us?
I've been so heartened by all of the community work that's gone on. Like Athena, we've got a WhatsApp group in our street, and one person is coordinating food collections for the homeless, and it's just every day people go down to the supermarket and they drop in at that house and they put something really useful in that box. There have been lots of others, but I've also musically been inspired by Louise Alder, who's been creating a group of her own called the Lulu Bells. It's her in 5 different formations, singing and creating close harmony songs. Look her up; she's just amazing. And she's one of the opera singers who's not able to perform at Glyndebourne or San Francisco this year, but she's putting her own music out, and it's so terrific. It really lifts the spirits.
Thanks, Jane. That sounds great. No, I love that the artists are coming together to do very intimate performances and create new music as well. I really enjoyed Kate Tempest doing some sort of live sessions of her latest album from lockdown as well, in her room, I think. So next, we've got Natasha Pullin, who is from the BBC and also has recently launched the Composer Wellbeing Collective. And this is very exciting because, Natasha, this is something you've been, putting together for a few months before coronavirus and lockdown even existed. And I think it's a really poignant time to discuss it and launch the collective. Can you tell me a bit about the collective and who it's aimed for and how it came to be?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having us. It's really good to get on this call and to hear about what everybody's doing. And I hope that we can, come out of this with some really positive collaborations and partnerships. We are a very newly launched organisation, like you say, Nici. This is something that we had in the pipeline and we were proposing to launch much later in the year, but due to the current situation we've moved that forward, so we're very much a fledgling. So I think, Jane, when you were talking about your tiny seed, our tiny seed is just an emerging sapling at the moment, but we are looking to focus on the challenges, the very specific challenges that composers face. There's quite a lot of support out there for performing artists, and there's a lot of support obviously with the PRS and organisations like that for composers, but we want to focus very much on raising awareness about the specific challenges that composers face every day, and we'd like an enduring focus on wellbeing. So although we've kind of moved our launch forward with all the logistical challenges of bringing it forward at this time, and kind of not being able to meet up and speak to people as easily as we could before, we've had such an amazing response, and it's really crystallised in our minds the fact that there is a very real strong need for this focus. So what we're looking to do, which is a little bit different, is form practical and physical and mental wellbeing support specifically for composers to highlight and raise awareness about the specific challenges that they face, and open up a collective conversation, both peer-to-peer and with medical health professionals, mental health professionals. And what we've found is that people have been so generous with their time and their contacts. We're really heartened by the fact that people want to engage with this. So we are looking to raise awareness and hopefully establish some kind of industry working practices that support composers in the work that they do. Some kind of industry guidelines. We want to be a non-commercial and safe, non-judgmental space where composers can discuss issues that they're facing, and really kind of highlight how we can improve things on a long-term basis across the industry. Our network, we've also had feedback from kind of the professionals that we've been speaking to on a medical and mental health side, that this is kind of an under-researched area. There's lots of research that's been done into performing artists and kind of the issues that they face and mental well-being, not so much composers. So we think that we're going to have a lot of collaboration and kind of build strong links in that area that will be a mutual kind of reciprocal relationship, whereby that kind of research can take place and we can build an evidence-based support network for composers specifically.
I think it's great that we're so lucky to have everyone on this call, and many of which represent organisations that are third party and don't necessarily have a business stake in your career, so that you can really provide advice and support in the interests of those creators, which is great, and one of the reasons that I love working with the Ivors Academy in that sense. And Tasha, just for when you say composers, is that for film, TV composers, or classical? Is there a definition of composers in this sense, or is it open to everyone that identifies as composer?
It's absolutely open to everybody who identifies as a composer. You know, we want to be as collaborative as possible and to grow this as far as we can. I've been working in the BBC for 20 years and working in probably the last 10, 12 years, engaging composers. So I can see the need to highlight and work with commissioners on best working practices and, you know, things that we can do in that respect, as well as practical support. And the kind of support that Athena was talking about and Liam, that musicians, Help Musicians UK and PRS Foundation offer. So we're just looking to build upon all of that and take it a step further with a very specialised area. We're a very small team of volunteers at the moment, but we're across the industry, so publishers, agents, commissioners and composers and performing artists who are giving up their time to, you know, because we feel that there's a lot of work that can be done there. So, but yeah, so there is a focus on media composers, film and TV at this stage, because that is naturally our background. We want to keep that open to everybody. You know, we're an evolving collective and we're keen to receive feedback, and we will just want to engage and collaborate as far as we can.
That sounds great, Natasha. I'm sure both Athena and Liam, if they've not already been in touch, will be very interested in supporting that. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with regards to inspirational sort of moments or acts of kindness?
Well, I think that's the thing about these times, isn't it? It brings out the very best in the community. And like you, Nici, the NHS Clap for Carers gets me every single time. And when I see carers, you know, who are working in care homes, holding the hands of people who, you know, can't have their family near them and really stepping into that role, I'm just so struck by the amazing work that they do. I've loved everybody's stories as well. Kelly's grandma and Athena's, you know, street neighbour doing the cupcakes. But I just think generally the way that everybody is coming together is incredible, and I love it. I just think it's brilliant. And I've spoken like a true BBC person. I love the amount of affection and appreciation that has been shown for David Lowe's BBC News theme at the moment, with so many people coming and kind of joining in and, you know, re-recording. And there's been some lovely moments around that, which I think have been really, really uplifting.
Yeah, once when he had his remix first go live, Kathy from our team managed to pull him in to do a webinar, but we thought, you know, he might need an agent soon to deal with all the new press inquiries that came in. But yeah, it's really fun. Thank you so much, Natasha. So I'd love to move on next to Nici. Can you tell us a bit about Gazelle and the Wellbeing app and how people can get involved?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Nici Butchart. I actually worked for 10 years with creators, helping them to sort of export whatever they were doing, leverage their intellectual property, including about 4.5 years at PRS. So this is all sounding so familiar, even though I'm not in the music industry, as it were. I left that field working in intellectual property, and I set up Gazelle Partners, which is a well-being habit change business. And it doesn't really matter who we work with. We help individuals and organizations to get more energy, more resilience, more creativity, better performance, more focus, whatever basically you're looking for, you can sort of get it through what we do. And we help people change 2 types of habits. So one is behavioural habits, which is sort of really typical stuff that you think of when you think of well-being, like optimising nutrition and sleep and exercise. but we also help people change mental habits. So we help people understand where repetitive thought patterns like fear, anxiety, stress, even things like PTSD and addiction and stuff like that, we help them understand where those are coming from. And I actually started talking with Nici and Graham a little bit before lockdown started. All of this, it was like it was a twinkle in our eye, because what we see with our clients is they all want to offer people relief from the stresses and strains that they feel. All organisations and just private individuals want to sort of feel better. But the flip side and the kind of unintended consequence of getting relief from those things is that people are experience it's like a surge of freedom and energy and creativity. So actually a lot of our more corporate clients are looking for creativity and innovation. And this is something that I was just always fascinated by when I was working with creators. So I actually approached Graham and said, can we do something? Because it just feels like this is sort of the right time. So that conversation was bubbling away when all this started. So we're doing quite a bit to try and help different communities. So we're doing a little bit with some groups of NHS people, just helping them get different types of support, just in any way that we can. And one of the ways that we work is really personalised with each individual. So what we want to do is just offer anyone who's listening, who's interested, who is curious about the very practical, very hopeful and very empowering approach that we use, because it's all about pointing people to a different, more hopeful understanding of mental health and pointing people towards mental health rather than towards mental ill health, and helping them get a really different perspective on it. It's really fantastic. So anyone who's interested can reach out to us, and we have a series of resources that we're very, very happy to share. For anyone who wants to just get in touch and let us know what it is you want to get freedom from, and what it is you'd love to create more of in your life, we'll even jump on a call. We're just playing it by ear. We're really sort of happy to support. But we've got loads and loads of stuff that we can give you. So a lot of what we're helping people do is listen more deeply. So going back to what Liam and Athena were talking about, really getting people to see that listening is like a superpower. And when we do that, we have compassion for other people, we have kindness towards other people, we understand people, but even more importantly, we kind of understand ourselves. So when we learn about how the mind works and how we are the creators of our reality moment to moment, we get an enormous ability to listen deeply to our own intuition, our own wisdom, and our own creativity. And with that comes an enormous freedom. And I was really reflecting on your question, Nici, about what acts of kindness have I experienced. And I mean, there's so many, like everyone's talking about, and even just listening to the news once a day, which is what I limit myself to. You just hear so many amazing stories. And one of my daughters was in A&E last week. I'm really, really grateful for them. But what it really got me thinking about is actually, I've just really started noticing that the design of our minds is inherently and innately kind. And I just think that is really cool if we start to see the emotions and the feelings and the ups and downs we're experiencing through lockdown, because it's just a journey that we're all going on. When we see each of those individual emotions and feelings that we're experiencing as being on our side, as being on our team, and as being inherently kind, we start to fear them slightly less, and actually we start to realize they are, by seeing those emotions and seeing that they are, it's like putting on a pair of glasses and seeing the world then through that emotion, that feeling, that thought pattern. We can start to see that actually they are just little alarm bells to help wake us up. to how we are creating our own reality. And I think this is something that all the people on this call will really understand as creative people. And, you know, I just think that's really, really cool. So that was my reflection, is actually, I think my mind has been really kind, and all those downs that I felt, all those unsettled moments have been really, really helpful. And it's always just after those that I've had a surge of freedom, a tiny amount of like being able to innovate. How do I run my kids' homeschooling while I'm trying to do other things? I've had these little moments of innovation, and they've all come after I've gone, hang on a minute, I think I'm just getting caught up in what's going on for me. So yeah, anyone where that just, they're sort of curious about, gosh, I could feel lighter, I could feel with the potential of fresh thought every moment of every day, we can have a completely fresh experience, no matter if our circumstances don't change. So undoubtedly there are horrendous circumstances right now, but we can all get a tiny bit of freedom from those and a fresh experience in each moment, just by understanding that, just by the guy who founded all of this stuff, who discovered it all, used to say, it's all in the feeling, listen to the feeling. And that's what I'm talking about, is when you can see the feelings that you're experiencing for what they are, which is a sort of little pattern of thoughts, you can just have amazing freedom from them. So if that rings true for anyone, just reach out to me, just get in touch, and we'll share loads of stuff. So that's it. And as for music, I'm probably the least cool person here. I'm relying on a sort of trail of Disney, Frozen 2 songs. Moana is probably the coolest. But that question really triggered me to sort of go, actually, just stop, and who are some of the people that you've really loved in the past? And I think one of the people that's come up for me is Leanne La Havas. I don't even know how to say her name, but I remember going to see her years ago, and I've been really enjoying, since you asked the question, I've been really enjoying getting back in touch with some stuff. I'm going to look up the Lulu Bells as well. They sound great.
Thanks very much, Nici. And Leanne is phenomenal. I've been very lucky to have run some gigs with her a really long time ago, actually, and her voice really sort of blows you away in her lyrics. So thanks for reminding me and everyone of that, so we can also go and listen to her. And also, I hope your family and your kids are okay after your trip to A&E.
Yeah, we're all sorted.
Great. Thanks for sharing. So I guess we've got one more sort of conversation with Matt. So Matt, I suppose, isn't from an organisation that is offering wellbeing support, but is very passionate about this topic. And what I love about what you do, Matt, is that when I was 18 and wrote some songs badly and started managing bands and things, all I really knew was playing live, playing gigs. But you're a creator and you do all sorts of different things, and I'd love for you to just share the sort of what you're doing, the variety of things you're doing, so that might inspire some people who maybe are a bit of a loose end, that don't know kind of what to do with their skills and their talents, things they could be doing too.
Well, I'll have a go. Essentially, what I'm doing during lockdown is what I do all the time, which is just I'm in this room, which is both my sort of like creative cocoon and also my prison, and I'm here every day writing. And actually, lockdown hasn't changed that at all. The only thing that lockdown has prevented me from doing is working with other musicians. So I would, from time to time, have other musicians in here to record. I can't do that. So professionally, that's a bit of a loss. But as you mentioned in the emails that went round prior to this, Nenita Desire set up, with the help of a colleague, a database of remote recording musicians, which has been very useful. I've not used it myself yet, but there's a whole bunch of fantastic players on there. and what with improvements in internet speed and sort of a standardization of people's working environments that's happened over the last few years, it's really easy now to get amazing musicians to work on your projects with you. So if anyone's watching this and thinking about writing some music and involving those players, I would really recommend it, because they'll be at a loose end right now, so they'll be able to accommodate you, and a real player can bring so much more to your music than a bunch of samples can. So yes, sorry, it's probably not such a helpful answer. Yeah, life's just kind of carried on for me, really.
So I suppose, one of the things that have inspired me in lockdown, which has nothing to do with music really, is the Little Angel Theatre puppet shows have gone on YouTube for families and things to do at the home, and that reminded me that you also compose or make software for children as well, to create music and do a whole load of other things. So it'd be great to get a bit of an overview, I suppose, of how the sort of work that you do as a creator, because it's quite diverse.
Yeah, so the children's software is Mr. Mangle's Music Factory, and that came out of work I did when my kids were little. I would go into their nurseries and make music with them, and I wanted to introduce young children to music technology. And the technology at the time was really built for grown-ups. It was built for music professionals, really. So it was kind of dense and difficult to understand for the kids, and also for the early years practitioners who were working with the children. So I wanted to make something that had a similar sort of capacity, but child-friendly iconography and a really quick process of capturing a sound and then fiddling around with it and playing with effects. So that's where that came from, and obviously the lockdown has put a stop to any kind of thought of going out and doing that. And up here in Nottingham, I'm part of a community of musicians that do a lot of workshopping, and of course for all of them work's stopped absolutely. It's hit a brick wall. So that's quite a kind of a sad state of affairs, really. Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Well, I know that as being part of the media committee as well, the Ivors Academy, you'll probably have to endure many a Zoom call with committee meetings, etc. So I hope, yes, I hope you're enjoying those. And well, I suppose,
I would say actually, just in response to the question you've been asking about sort of moments of kindness and inspiration, I think it's been quite interesting to see how the lockdown has taken away the capacity to meet up and chat, and it's taken away the capacity to make music with other people. But what it has done is it's encouraged people to reach out in other ways, and that's been a really nice thing. The amount of contact on Facebook through the Scorecast group, and also the media committee and other composers that I know, calling and emailing and Zooming in just to sort of check in on each other, has been really nice.
That sounds great. Thanks, Matt. So I guess, Tarcic, we'll go over to you to ask a couple of questions that have come in. I noticed the first one is asking if there's a recording of this session being shared afterwards, and the answer to that is yes. We will be putting it on the members area of the Ivors Academy website. But if you've got any questions about that, do drop us an email at contact@ivorsacademy.com. So Tarcic, I'd like to hear your inspiring moment of kindness story, and then you can ask some questions.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to couple the fantastic stories you've heard already. I think that's kind of my story, and what I take from this during this current situation is the camaraderie in this country has become amazingly fantastic, and I hope we can kind of keep that going until after COVID-19 and the coronavirus has gone from this world, because I think it's made London and living in London and just socializing in London a lot better for me personally. I'm not too sure if anybody else will agree, but yeah. And I mean, I guess my new music thing is I kind of been trying to work on my own music. I'm not really a musician by trade. I kind of started off as an actor, if anything, and then kind of found my way into the Ivors Academy. But then whilst I've had this time during lockdown, I thought I'd try my hand at making some beats on Logic. I'll play one for you for you guys if you wanna hear. And just to show how unprofessional I am, I've completely forgotten to remove the metronome from I don't know, the export from the file. I don't know what you want to call it. But before I do that though, I want to say quickly, Nici, I do agree that Moana is one of the greatest soundtracks Disney has ever created of all the time. It's up there with the Lion King for me. All right, there you go. There's a snippet of that. I think that's been me for lockdown. But onto the questions. I suppose we have one from a anonymous attendee. I guess this is to all our panelists. So feel free anybody to jump in on this one. And it says connecting to musicians to play together at the same time online is problematic due to the issue of sound quality and latency. Do the panelists know of any good solutions that facilitate real-time playing for musicians? You know, the well-being, and he goes on to say the well-being benefits of playing together is a huge, and many musicians, and this person says they include themselves in that, really miss the dynamic of being interactive in the room with other musicians. So I guess kind of to summarize is, do any of our panelists have any suggestions on how we can make things feel a bit more natural online?
I can jump in on this if you like, Tarcic.
Yeah, please.
Only to say, unfortunately not. No, there was a lot of emails going around at the start of lockdown about this subject, and people were getting very frustrated. But I just think, I guess it's down to broadband speed between two terminals, and also drivers and audio interfaces at the other end. Unfortunately, no one's quite come up with any sort of solution to this.
Thanks for that, Matt. Well, I mean, from what I've heard from people releasing music in the last couple of weeks, I know I might have a very particular taste. I like to listen to a lot of grime and rap, but the stuff that's coming out, I think, is as good, even if not better than before, just because I think a lot of people are put back in that situation where when they first started writing, where they were just kind of in a room trying to figure out what the hell to write about, you know? So not the best answer there, but I guess an answer. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so one thing that I wondered was how many of you would still want to use Zoom post-lockdown? Can we have a show of hands? Because I feel like it's quite a mixed. I'm looking at the attendee hands here. We've got 4 out of 35, 5. I think we need a few more. Because I was thinking the other day, I'd probably suggest a Zoom call instead of travelling halfway across London to go to the pub, but I didn't know if that was just me. But certainly I think it's good for us to run more events online to reach the members across the country, really. I think it's been great. Does anyone else sort of agree with that or have anything to share on that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, with our training, we'd always said that we would only want to be in the room and we wouldn't want to do anything remotely. But we've discovered all sorts of ways of connecting with people. And you know, for instance, one of our attendees has a new baby, and being able to attend remotely meant that she could come to a 3-hour session and it would be 3 hours from the day. But if she had to come in person, it would be 5 or 6 hours out of the day. So for that person, that made all the difference to being able to attend or not. And, you know, of course, there's a huge geographical benefit to working online because you can reach people in different countries. So you know, there are so many benefits. So I think for us, one of the questions is, what can we do really well in this environment, and what are we missing, and how do we make up for that? But I think for us, it's going to be a blended model after lockdown.
Athena, I noticed your post in the chat there about some people not having access to technology or not being trained to use technology. So I suppose that's something that, you know, organisations like ourselves can consider when we're making resources and things, is trying to make everything as accessible as possible. Great. Well, I think we've reached time now. So thank you so much to all the panelists for joining us. And if any of the attendees, if you want to reach out and say hello, ask some questions, please do. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all at a webinar again soon. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.